Thank you, Deborah. I'm glad you're making this very, very warm introduction of me in Washington. Were you to make that warm introduction of me in Boston in front of my relatives, I can see my aunts saying something like, "So, movie star thinks you're special. Why don't you get over yourself?" So I grew up in a political family in Boston. My father was involved with the Kennedy family, helping to win elections, which they did frequently in Massachusetts. And that is work that I was associated with from an early age. Growing up in Boston, it's a political town. Politics was always something that was romantic to me. But in 25 years of being either a fundraiser in a professional capacity or as a volunteer raising money as chairman of Governor Patrick's Finance Committee or serving on the kitchen cabinets for Joe Kennedy III or Elizabeth Warren, I've gotten to see how this system works and what's broken about it. There are lots of people in this room that I don't need to tell that big money in politics has created an enormous problem in our country. You know, as I think about Citizens United, it's really just an accelerant on a fire that's been raging since the post-Watergate era. When you think about the legislative changes that happened following Watergate, and even further, McCain-Feingold, you've got a lot of pieces of legislation that were well-intended, were heralded, and then subverted almost immediately. Loopholes that were either found or created, in some cases, written to be loopholes, were exploited. And big money has always found a way into our politics, sadly. And what's the result? We've got major problems in our country. If you think about income inequality just in and of itself, we have a situation in America where the poor, who have always been in bad shape, are in worse shape than we've ever seen. And we've got a middle class that's one paycheck away from being poor and deeply anxious about it. That anxiety is playing out in our national politics, and it's a problem. But what's the Damocles sword that sits above all of us in this instance? Big money in politics, keeping us away from expecting the best from our elected leaders. So I sit here and look out on an audience like this, and to quote a former president that I had a great deal of respect for, we are the people we've been waiting for. Every single one of you that is going to be engaged in coalition building and in gathering signatures and putting things on ballots in your own states and making sure that your state legislatures are stepping up and taking this pledge and then taking that fight to Washington, D.C. That's enormously important work, and it's necessary work. Last night, I talked to Jeff a little bit about the fact that it seems like a hugely daunting task to get a constitutional amendment passed in this era. But he said to me, and this gives me a little hope, that there's been other times in American history when we've been in a crisis period, and we've been able to go ahead and pass those amendments to the Constitution. We must do this. I have not seen our country in worse shape. I'm 49 years old. Plenty of historians can tell me that it's been in bad shape before. But it feels terrible right now because we've got so many people suffering. It's not just income inequality, but it's the opioid crisis and a public policy construct that actually supports those who are promulgating this particular crisis that's impacting communities all over the country, including my own in Boston. So I want to thank each and every single one of you for being here, for being the citizens that you are. You've got to be citizen warriors now. It is important for us to win this fight and bring this fight very directly to the Congress and very directly to each and every one of our states. I think this will be the thing that defines most of your lives, frankly, if we're able to get this accomplished, because you will have done something for democracy in the United States that will forever change it. So with that, I want to thank you all for being here at this conference. This work is very, very important. I want to thank American Promise for asking me to be a part of this. Jeff is irresistible, and and I intend to be involved with this going forward in any way that I can be involved. So thank you all very much, and have a great, great conference.